Our underlying theme here is that not all clouds are created the same. Specifically, there are different use cases in different clouds and different approaches that the various vendors are going after. And what I find is when I'm talking to my customers, they usually start to approach the conversation with, we want to go to the public cloud and leverage infrastructure as a service that's hosted externally. Which one is the right one for us? And we want to move everything there. And our goal is to typically reframe the conversation and get customers to recognize that the option or answer is typically that you're going to have multiple infrastructures of service vendors, and that those vendors are going to bring different values to the table based on what you're trying to accomplish. Some of the decision criteria that go into those conversations include price, the pricing model, scalability, ABIs. But more importantly, it's about your supported OS, your standards, your SLAs, and how you intend to support that. And what I mean by that is, how do you intend to manage the cloud? How do you intend to run applications on the cloud? And how are you going to deliver back to your customers the value that those different clouds are bringing to bear? So for example, for VMware Cloud Hybrid Services, what is it? What are they bringing to the market that's unique? It's a brand new offering. First of all, let's start with that. It's only been available for 9 months. Similar to what you heard earlier today from James Waters and Pivotal, which had only been available since the first part of this year, this is a new product and it's still emerging. So you're starting to see that VMware is really bringing something to market that they haven't had a foray into before, and they decided to go with a measured approach to doing that. If you think back 14 years now, when VMware entered the data center, what was their approach? They came out with GSX, they went after test and dev markets, and they focused on the value of the hypervisor. How do we get the hypervisor to be stable and start building in services first at an individual physical machine level and then at a cluster level? Once they had those services and the capability to run a VMware so that they could move from test dev into production, then they started layering on top of that a whole ecosystem of additional value-added services, whether that was additional monitoring and management and orchestration, or even desktop, laptop, or other types of services. They're taking a very similar approach here. With VMware Cloud Hybrid Services, they're building the platform. They're going to get customers comfortable with running on that platform, running virtual machines, and then they're going to build around that an ecosystem of services that are going to allow you to extend capabilities. Good proof point of that, just 6 weeks ago at EMC World, the relationship and support between Pivotal and VCHS was formally announced, and you heard that referenced earlier today by both James and Chad. In that, Pivotal is now going to be able to support, and you're going to have to be able to deploy platform as a service on top of that cloud hybrid service model. What VMware is focusing on is a hosted, managed VMware environment, and the look and feel that they're trying to give you as an externally hosted VMware environment. This should act as though a VM cluster that just happens to reside in an alternate compute facility, but that you manage from vCenter, very similar to how you manage your environment today. And because of that, you're going to carry forward all of your same tools, all of your same methodologies, all of your same templates, and your same capabilities with very little on-ramp or learning time to be able to go ahead and deploy this effectively. And again, what VMware is really focused on right now is an infrastructure offering designed to run virtual machines rather than all of those additional hosted services on top of that. Based on that go-to-market approach, VCH is going to appeal to a very select group of 59,000 certified professionals in the industry today. That's a pretty good market to go after. If you consider all of the VMware admins that's out there, it's north of 100,000. So they've got a very good market of people that are very comfortable with their utilities, their deployment models, and their architectures that they can approach. Those VMware customers are a subset typically of infrastructure teams that are used to operating and building and maintaining production environments. People that are not afraid to leverage cloud if it operates the same way that they're used to operating in their existing data centers. Orchestrated VMware environments, specifically those that are already leveraging VMware Cloud Director or VCAC, are natural extensions because those are the same tools and utilities that allow you to extend into this instance. Also, it's interesting that they're really going to be going after more application purchasers rather than, I'm going to say, application developers. If you want to go ahead and run Microsoft Exchange in a cloud instance, I would recommend VCHS over Amazon, because VCHS is built around those same operational tenets of availability, VMHA, DRS, etc., that are designed on a standard, robust operating system instance residing on virtualized hardware. AWS has a very different go-to-market, and I'll leave that to Loring a little bit, but they're going to talk more about the decoupled, newly developed next-generation applications. Today, application purchasers are going to be more comfortable with VCHS, and with the addition of Pivotal, application developers is something that's going to be a little bit further down the line. Disaster recovery as a service is an additional offering that they're going to start to bring to bear. This wasn't available day one and has just really come available this quarter. And finally, you're going to find customers that are more interested in a subscription-based pricing. Rather than just the on-demand, sign up, have someone swipe my credit card, this is something that IT and IT finance can put some controls in and around that's going to allow them to have some gates and metering to allow who on-ramps into that cloud under your enterprise identity. Now, I tend to think that VMware has a very good approach here because they believe that people that want to manage the cloud want to do so in a way that's comfortable and familiar to them. And they've picked VMware tools, specifically vCenter, as the approach for how you should manage and administer this cloud. And I think that they've got some interesting market validation because as of last Friday, their largest competitor chose to agree with them. So this was just released. Amazon now has a plugin that resides within vCenter that's going to allow you to administer the Amazon cloud. Now, by administer, realistically today, it's provision, deploy, and decommission virtual machines. But you see that same addressable market of those 59,000 VCPs and 100,000 VM users that are out there is the core decision maker market for who's going to be leveraging these clouds in the future and making these decisions for the enterprise. Now, use cases today. Where is this a good fit? Where can you go after it right away? Take a low-risk first step, look at test dev. Again, go back 15 years, GSX, how did that get into the data center? Take something low risk, something that needs a lot of flexibility, has a lot of change into it, deploy on that, iterate, 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 and if it blows up, the only thing that's affected is a few developers for a few minutes while you go ahead and restart the virtual machine. Packaged applications, not just Exchange and SQL, but additional layered on applications, whether that's a time recording system, or a website that you've bought, something that you can very quickly deploy that's already comes perhaps as a vApp or something that's designed to be deployed on a VM construct, very quickly to deploy a vApp internally or a vApp externally rather than develop something out of the gate. Disaster recovery, extend the data center for dev test. Seasonal workloads or additional geolocations, go ahead and give you that additional high availability compute that you can leverage externally. And finally, application quality assurance. How do I take something that I have developed internally or a packaged version and I go ahead and test and deploy version 6.1 or 6.2 or 6.x when I'm running 5x in production and go ahead and throw users against it with load and do some stress testing and get metrics back before I roll that new version up into production? The emerging use cases is app dev. And again, until the Pivotal relationship really fleshes out, I really see that VCHS is more of an infrastructure-based play rather than a platform-based play. Once Pivotal deploys on top of that, I think that you're going to see a much wider applicability in the enterprise market. Now, if you go back to what Chad was talking about earlier in terms of his architecture and what James was talking about earlier in his architecture, we really shouldn't be administering infrastructure that much anymore, and we should be focusing on enabling that platform layer. But that's a change that I think as an industry we're going to have to all become comfortable with, whether it's VCHS, AWS, Azure, or anyone else. So a quick reference architecture and a shout out to Michael Haney and hypervisor.org here and something that they put together. If you actually Google VCHS reference architectures, there's not a lot out there because there's nothing specifically special about VCHS. Amazon posts a whole host of reference architecture in terms of 3-tiered web apps and gaming apps and mobile apps, but realistically they're designing the app architecture, not the underlying infrastructure architecture. The reason that you don't see a lot out there is because all of the VCHS constructs for their infrastructure architecture follow existing vSphere guidelines. It's just an existing vSphere cluster or VM cluster that's provisioned in an alternate data center. The only reference architectures are really that little red box in the middle is let's deploy vCloud connector into my vCenter instance so that I can actually leverage that external resource pool, and then I can go ahead and start pushing templates and virtual machines out there. So it's a very easy and low time to deploy and get this effectively running in your enterprise. Again, that's the way that I describe this most effectively. It's another site that you're going to leverage. The same security policies, the same network topology. You're going to have layer 2 extensions out there and full network virtualization at layer 2 and layer 3. Not only that, but VCHS is also going to allow you to bring your own vSphere licenses. So you can actually deploy this within your existing ELA or vSphere contract without having to worry about licensing implications or true-ups or license audits. So a very robust and powerful way so that you can go ahead and start getting quickly ramped on this. That being said, this is quick, it's easy, but it's also very robust in the tool sets that it does offer. No additional cost. It includes firewalls, VPNs, the disk I/O that you need that you can monitor and manage, the redundancy and HA that you expect from a well-designed vSphere cluster, the load balancers that you need, and also DHCP and NAT services. So again, this is a very robust, if I was a vSphere administrator building a cloud, this is how I would deploy it because this is how I deploy internally. Same set of principles and methodologies. And again, that's why I think that this offering is so attractive to existing enterprise customers that are used to building nonstop applications that run in this manner. So there are two different service offerings, and this is really the biggest decision you have to make when you're getting ready to deploy VCHS in terms of how you're going to leverage it. Do I want something dedicated with my own physical hardware that I'm going to run on? Or is it acceptable for me to run in a multi-tenant environment? Dedicated does have some additional security concerns and considerations, especially if you are in a regulated industry and you need to worry about VM leakage or bleed over, or you're not comfortable with the concepts of multi-tenancy. But virtual private cloud, I think, is going to be emerging as the primary method that customers go forward with. Again, because VMware is coming and approaching it from that enterprise class methodology, they do have a different customer base that they're approaching. So they are offering both of these very quickly out of the gate so that customers feel comfortable and can overcome some of those internal, call them regulatory or policy-based challenges that some of the other clouds are not able to offer. So what does it cost? This is manufacturer's suggested retail pricing for the core items. 0.68 cents per hour, or 4.5 cents an hour for virtual private cloud. You see there is a bit of a premium on the dedicated cloud with 24/7 for support if you want persistent disk and bandwidth. There are calculators that are out this online, so you can take your existing VM catalog, kick out a report of the types of virtual machines that would be good candidates for this, maybe type what you're running in your test dev cluster, and you can very quickly do some modeling against this and find out what's the right approach. In fact, this is the approach that we take as a head when we're working with customers. Give me a representative list of virtual machines and how you've spec'd them out. Give me your ESX top data or what you're actually running, and we'll run it against these calculators and give you a compare and contrast for what's the value for bursting that out or having an instance such as this available to you out in the cloud. Some of the unique features that VMware brings to bear that aren't available from other operating system vendors or cloud vendors, it has the widest application support base, and especially, again, for commercial off-the-shelf software. They have taken applications that are already certified to run on VMware and certified them to run in the VCHS cloud. So if you go and see a VM-ready sticker or a vApp or something else that's been deployed on VMware successfully and has a VMware support contract with it, you know that it will run and be supported within this instance. It's going to be operated from the tools that you already know and you already use. And it's going to have the same tool set and mentality that you're already used to. There's no new taxonomy. You don't have to learn about AMIs or other operating system methodologies that are going to have to cause you to relearn how to operate a set of virtual machines. It's going to have the widest guest operating system support, so you can run different versions of Linux or different versions of Windows, and you can run a lot of different operating systems that are capable of being virtualized on VMware that aren't available in some of the packaged AMIs or other virtual machines offerings. Certainly from Amazon would be, or Azure Cloud would be another one that has a significant set of operating system restrictions. And finally, that ability to bring your own licenses to the instance really provides some financial flexibility in terms of how you scale this out or suck it back in. How does a head help? Very quickly, we can help you decide, is this a good fit for you? If it is a good fit, what are the right use cases? How do you get out of the gate in using it? We don't think that there's a lot of time that's going to be spent in helping you get this operational because it's the same tools you're already using. But that use case identification, understanding of the risks and rewards, and getting out to speed very quickly so that you can explain back to your business and your stakeholders that running in this type of cloud is a very low-risk enterprise. Whether it's through our solutions briefings or consulting offerings, it's something that we can offer, and we do day in and day out for the majority of our customer base. So with that being said, I'm now going to bring to the stage my compatriot Loring Pels, who's going to offer a different version of this in terms of what Amazon Web Services brings to bear and how their approach can also provide value to the enterprise, although in a very different value, focused on a different user set with different operational models so that they can go ahead and give you another competing or really complementary offering for additional services.